Yeah, we're good.
Cool. Alright, y'all. Gotta make sure I'm framed right. So, good stuff. Alright, let's sit down. Mike, can I see you? So, the closed guard. We're gonna start today with some basic. First thing we're gonna do is just a basic posture breaking, like overview, pretty much a lot of stuff we just drilled, getting to a really cool offensive position that I was working. We tend to teach a lot of things in the closed guard that, like, I don't want to say don't work, but don't work when you're like, when the aggregate level of defensive jiu-jitsu is like 3 stripe white belt. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, say you're my guard. Try to look at this way. Like, so, back in the day, you know, like, yeah, I guess, you know, you just like, and there's a place for learning that, which I'll talk about in a second. But the reality is like, if let's say I break his posture, boom, if I start going here, he's going to start trying to pull that elbow back and stay in real tight. I'm sure you guys have been training long enough, you've been in this scenario where I'm trying to like, get this angle. He's not letting me. Why isn't this working? Is it me that sucks? I don't understand. Right? I feel like a lot of times the reason why we still even sort of teach this sort of like really basic, like, and not in terms of fundamental principles, but like this basic setup to the arm bar is to develop the motion, right? The movement. You guys honestly should put like this circle, like John and Jimmy, just like over here. Because that motion is important, right? As we drilled in the opening movement, you know, partner drills, right? My foot goes on the hip, I kick, I get over to the side. That's huge. That is like, as we'll go into in this semester, this tree-like thing is everywhere in the closed guard. This is so pivotal. It's hard to explain. It's like, it's super critical to the entire closed guard. But we're going to want to be a little bit more sophisticated if we want to develop a jiu-jitsu game that's going to actually accommodate or account for people that know some stuff, right? So we start out with the posture. And again, like I pointed out, if Mike here just like puts his hands on my body and postures straight up to the ceiling, and he does not want to get broken down, it can be very hard to break him down. But there's a very important thing to understand. Number one is if I make my feet go towards the floor, he will never be able to break this guard, right? So what do I mean by that? Right now, you guys can't really see, but my feet are pretty much just in default position. If I push him to the mat, Mike, try to break open my guard, please.
It's really hard if I can't control your hips.
Right. You notice how my hips just kind of go with him. Even for like a violator pass, you know the violator pass with the armpits, it's like as long as I keep my feet going down, we'll never create that crowbar. Yeah. So number one, on a defensive level, I just put my feet to the floor. On an offensive level, I do the opposite. Instead of putting my feet to the floor, I bring my knees to my chest. The cool trick is this. In order for him to do anything, he has to do stuff. Which is a very, right, gets his base off, unsettled, and makes it easy for me to pull him in. Just getting the knees in the chest. I see so many people, and they're doing this, and they're like, and it's like, you don't need that. You really don't. It's like, gonna try to pass, boom, he's gonna come down. From here, I'm gonna lock behind the back of the head, and lock, I like to call this Marsupial guard. You know, like a little koala bear, like, hold on to him. If Mike tries to posture up, very hard. The only option he has, and you see him doing it, his best option is going to be to get these arms in the way and start trying to push on my chest, right? And try to go and push on my chest and start, right, prying himself up, which we'll go into that. There's one of the lesson plans we're going into that. Not today. But let's say that he doesn't do that. This is a pretty strong control. He has to work pretty hard to make that happen. We're going to start moving towards our offense, right? So I put my foot on the hip like we did in the drill. I point this out to Jimmy, and I'll make note to the group, is that let's say you have long legs or just like your framing dynamic with this person doesn't quite line up in a way where you can get the foot on the hip and the knee pinched tight. The more important detail is the knee pinched tight. So it's like better if I just kind of hug the side than if my knee is here and this knee is open. Or my foot is here and this knee is open. Because if he slides his elbow out, well now I'm going to get my guard passed, or at least I have to worry about that. Versus if my knee is tight and my foot's here, if he tries to slide his elbow out, he's still going to hit that block. So that's what the knee is doing, is blocking him from shaving his elbow out, and the foot is just reinforcing that frame. I have to have his leg, so I'm going to use it. From here, I'm going to bump his armpit with that tree leg thing, just kick into his armpit, and then what I'm aiming for, guys, is to lock this thing over his shoulder blade. I don't have to like pummel this thing in and get here, though that would be nice. Right, you see how poor position this arm is in. All I need to do is, as I got my angle, and I just want to kind of go over top the shoulder blade. The higher my feet are on his back, the better. That's going to be a mobility like question. How much hip rotation do you have? From here, I control the posture. If Mike tries to posture up, go ahead. It's very difficult. I have a lot of things working in my favor to keep him down here. All right, so let's just start out. We're going to work on just breaking him down and getting to this position, and then we're going to get to our offense in a second. So again, I'm in the guard. The first thing is he tries to pass. I pull it into my chest. I catch my marsupial guard position. Like I said, I'm like a rear naked choke. Crook of the elbow behind the neck. Figure 4, back of, hold to the top of the head. Right, if he tries to posture up, it should be very difficult. Right. From here, whenever I feel froggy, it's going to go on the hip. I might have to scoop my hip down a little just to get there. Tree leg, and then I'm aiming to get this over top the shoulder blade. And I like to call this 45-degree guard, so I've kind of gotten a little bit of a hang. That makes sense, guys? Mm-hmm. So let's just work on that. Oh, and then also try when you're like, let your partner try to put their knee kind of in your tailbone, push your feet to the floor. So hamstrings will get a little crampy, but once you get used to that, that's, you know, and it's also great position. Flowers we're not going into today, but anytime they narrow their base, it's right there. So let's just partner up, work on that for a minute, and then we'll move on to the arm bar. So let's do it. Oh, anybody have any questions? No? Do you want to see anything, or you? This is good. All right, cool. Let's partner up. 1, 2, 3.